Well, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, depending on which time zone you're in. I am Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt, and we are going to have a lively conversation with a very meaningful and trusted connection of mine, Mr. Paul Marsh. So, Paul, why don't you take the hi, man? Yeah, let's play. Woo! Why don't you take the opportunity to introduce yourself, and then we're going to have an interesting conversation around saying yes and being prepared to learn. Oh, and then forgot shout out. I am the brand ambassador for Rever. So if you want to learn more about Rever, you can go to reverscore.com or just send me a direct message. So, Paul, over to you.
All right.
All right.
Bruce, thank you for having me. This is my very, very first live event. So I can't really say I'm nervous, but I'm curious. I'm interested to see what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, to describe myself, I am a graphic designer. I am creative. I've been doing advertising and marketing, design and production. And over the years, I started out in agency and I went to work in a family business. And then from that, I went over to freelancing. And
Mm-hmm.
so over all that time, I've learned so much just by experimenting and kind of what the topic is today, taking opportunities and seeing where they lead me. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to be discussing this. And just one of the opportunities was when you connected with me and then you said, hey, I'm going to be in Tulsa next week. You want to have a coffee?
Mm-hmm.
And who would have known that I would have become a confidant with you and you helped me through a process cleanup sprint with my new business partner, which was huge, helped us really get clarity on what we're doing. And we're seeing the benefits of it
Awesome.
right now as we speak.
All right. Well, we're going to break that down a little bit. I just want to say hi to some folks that are eagerly jumped on already, Paul. Say they want to find out what saying yes and being prepared to learn. Hey, Jairus, good to see you, man. And engineer, can't read it. And Rakan, if I said that right. Syed, Chris. Hey, Chris Rango. Hello, Gracie Ruth, Junette. Oh my goodness, we have a whole host of rock stars on here in their own right. So
That's
so it's interesting, Paul, that your theme is say yes and be prepared to learn. So it's kind of exactly the way we started, right? We didn't really know each other too well, and we decided to sit down for that coffee at the Starbucks over there in Owasso. And so what are some of the top three things that you've said yes to, and then what have you learned from that? Hey, Maria. Go ahead.
I've been able to take advantage of some opportunities, both professionally and personally.
Mm-hmm.
That I think if you take it down to just the basic, if it's a mindset of, hey, I'm going to try something, and who knows where it's going to lead, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. Mm-hmm. That more times than not has been really good for me. The one personally that I like to talk about is that my son was involved in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to one meeting, just informational meeting at school. They go, come join Cub Scouts. And so we did. And next thing we knew, when we left, we were the den leader and the pack leader, just because we agreed, because they said, hey, we need someone to lead it. So we're like, okay, we'll try. And then the next level of that was when my son graduated up to Boy Scouts. And the current leader, he pulled me aside one day after I had, been working and getting to know the boys, and he said, "Hey, I got to, go into graduate school and do some things. I really can't be committed to this, but I'd really like you to take over." And I'm like, oh my gosh! I was like, no way! I don't know how to do this. And I was like, no, I tried to put them away and just say, no, thanks, but no thanks. But after I thought about it and I said, what the heck, I'll try it. And that turned into one of the most wonderful experiences I've had for probably 5 years. I got to spend being a leader of adventure trips and leadership workshops and stuff with my own son, which was awesome. I got to take some great trips over to Philmont, outdoor, adventure in New Mexico, and we did a canoeing trip up in Minnesota. So I am so glad I said yes to that, because if I would have just said no, then I would have missed out on all that cool stuff. Professionally, when I was in doing my freelance work, I was really tight. I lost some business and things were not looking good. And I spent my days, combing through, people to call and companies I might pitch to. And one of my buddies said, well, you need to talk with my friend Joe over here at Tulsa Company that was just a dream company that you could ever work for. So I had a meeting with him, showed him my portfolio, explained kind of what I did, and didn't hear anything for weeks, maybe a few months. But then one day he came up to me after a church service and he said, hey, I need your help. Do you know how to do web design or the Adobe Dreamweaver product? I'm like, yeah. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I better learn it quick. But he said, we've got this deal where we're converting our printed newsletter to digital only. They're completely doing away with the printed component, and they just want to take it all online. And I have learned enough web design to be adequate, but by no means would I go out and pitch it and say, hey, I'm an expert at this. But I said yes, and that developed into one of the best client relationships I had, almost 7 years of monthly repeat business, which I had to learn, and I had to work hard at figuring it out and spend long hours and all that. So I said yes, and then in the back of my mind, I'm like,
all right,
I better learn this.
Hey, hold that thought. I want to say hi to some people I've not seen before. Helene Vasquez, did I say that correctly? And again, Maria, Wendy Boyles, Junette popping on and off. Thank you so much again. And actually, I would, back to your website thing, I would say you're very proficient. And I actually happen to know that because you took my website that I'd made a complete mess of, and you made it simpler, faster, better, and it became, a really nice scrollable one-page smartphone familiar or smartphone savvy. And a lot of people, I send them there to find out a little bit more about what you and I have done before, and also what I've done working with some other high potential leaders. So I think the other saying yes and being prepared to learn that I remember, Paul, is I know you said yes to Lorena Acosta down in Florida to go to be part of a panel, right? So why don't you talk about that one?
Oh, yeah. So that was another wonderful opportunity that I almost didn't say yes to. I've been starting to become active on LinkedIn, and it hadn't even been quite a year, and I was getting a lot of connections, but barely putting out very much content. But I was getting some visibility. And then I connected with Lorena Acosta because she was kind of like the queen of
in Florida, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So much great content. And one of my friends, Miguel, told me to that I had to connect with her. So I did. And then she responded right back and said, hey, tell me what you do, and I'd like to help promote you. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. So she screenshotted my profile and then posted on her post, said, hey, I just met this great guy, connect with him. And I got flooded with connection requests just because of Lorena's influence.
Right.
And that was great. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, maybe not even that long, she called me, or she said, hey, I need to talk to you. I'm like, what would this be about? And
Uh-oh. You thought you were in trouble?
she was planning a LinkedIn Live in Orlando, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
She said, and I need someone to talk about, creating video and doing graphics for brand identity.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd like you to come and be a panelist. And I thought, what? It's like, why would anyone choose me? I mean, sometimes I have trouble speaking certain things. It doesn't always come natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I told my wife about it, and she goes, what? But I thought about it, and I said, you know what? I probably won't get an opportunity like this again. And I called her back, and I go, hey, I'll do it. And then in between then and the event, I met the 5 other panelists on there. Got to be friends with them, make excellent connections. The event itself was a dream. I mean, it was so much fun. We had great attendance, super energy. I got up and was able to talk about stuff that I'm familiar with, and it was really easy. And it was fun. And the connections I made there, I still stay in contact with. So it's just another case of when you think you can't do it, go ahead and try it.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
When you think you can, I'm sure you can, right? So I want to say hi to, hey, Karina. She's a meaningful connection here in SoCal as well. Wendy's commenting. Thanks for all the wonderful comments so far. And yeah, if somebody wants to see, Paul said he can't speak, but that's not true. If you want to go see Paul on the panel from last fall, he did some really great tips and tricks on just simple stuff around, holding the microphone, doing little things like that, but we all struggle with. So those posts are on your profile, right?
Yeah. There are some clips that I took out from the event. Alex Miner was the videographer for the event. He did an amazing job capturing all of the event and then sent it to us for our use on our pages. But the kind of things that I really enjoyed talking about are the really simple tips and tricks that practically anyone can do, and even on a limited budget, if they want to start producing video content or content on LinkedIn. And it's super easy. I mean, fundamentals about lighting, about sound, about stability, and stuff like that. Anyone can do it. I love talking about it, and I love sharing with people because I know they can. And once they start doing it, they get really excited.
Okay, so for the live listeners, or if you're on replay, if you want some tips and tricks on some of those very important fundamental things, then reach out to Paul. Paul's very active on direct messaging, and he always gets back to you. He's a busy guy, but he will always get back to you. So the other one I remember is, say yes and then be prepared to learn. And that's where I got to do some meaningful work with yourself and with your new business partner, Jacqueline Quinnett, right? Because
absolutely.
So maybe share that story, because as I recall, JQ she goes by, because Jacqueline Quinnett is along. She spells it real different. So so when JQ reached out to you, then perhaps you can do a synopsis of that and what we learned there.
Yeah. Wow. So that's another thing that I believe. I mean, my spiritual life is really important to me, and I think that the call that I got from Jacqueline that day was not coincidence. I think that was an answer to prayer of, what am I going to do with this business? I inherited the promotional product company from my family. My brother had worked it for 20 years or so. And he and I worked together in the past, and we've done lots of great things. And he built a very strong business. But he passed away in 2016 and left a void. And I stepped in, and I took the business and maintained it. And I wouldn't say that I was doing it all that well, but I think I kept some clients, helped it to keep going. And I saw an opportunity there, but because I took that on, I couldn't serve it justice, definitely the way that my brother was. I let other things suffer because I was trying to juggle too many things. But then um, one day, it was a year ago, October, I got a call. No, I wanted to connect with this woman that worked at a local company that I was familiar with, and I sent out a connection request, and then she called me back on the phone, and I didn't know how she got my phone number, but she just called and said, "Hey, I do promotional products, and I'm looking for a graphic designer that I can depend on that's local. You know, would you be willing to talk?" And so I said, "Sure." I said, "Talk." I expected her to say, "Okay, what about next week or something?" She goes, "Can I come by this afternoon?" I'm like, okay, this woman means business. So she did. She showed up, and we sat down right here at this table, and she told me what she was looking for. And I said, that's really interesting because you're here doing your independent work, and you want to build your business independently. But I have this company that has clients that need servicing, and there is a lot of potential, but I just need a salesperson. So that was the start of a great relationship that has brought us, a year into it, and we're still growing and learning. But that was right about the time when you and I were talking about your process improvement, and I told you what was going on with Jacqueline, and I said, we're really struggling because she had her ways of doing things, and I had my ways of doing things, and it was just all kind of a big mess. And you kind of said, I know. So I know what you can do. And so you offered this sprint, 4-week sprint course, which actually turned out to be 6+. Thank you. But
that's right.
The program was with you and me and Jacqueline, and we had Zoom meetings, and we identified what our goals were, and then we identified our current process step, current state, and it was very eye-opening. And between she and I, we were able to identify everything we did, and then how we're doing it, and all the tools we use. And after that meeting was the discovery of a tool that already existed in our industry that we just hadn't been utilizing. And Jacqueline found it, and she said, "Paul, look at this. I mean, we got to use this." And it was built pretty much like we structured our current state, but it had all these tools and all the status and the reporting and the some automation, which was really great. We're trying to do some of the things ourselves, but they had it already built in. So we went from using like 6 or 7 tools down to like 2.
Right.
Which was really, really good. And Bruce, you were extremely instrumental in helping us even be open to that.
Well, thank you. I brewed tea in my blessed cup because I was blessed to be at the right place at the right time. And so it was an awesome, we both said yes and be prepared to learn, but I don't think any of us really realized what we were going to learn, right? And six sessions later, we pretty much had devastated your current process and turned it into a new process, which was, at the end of the day, I'm about simpler, faster, better. And it turned out to be exactly simpler, faster, better, right?
Yeah, and what I like, too, is that Jacqueline, the HiPot, which we'll talk about more, is just eager to learn and to improve and to push everything to its absolute limit. So she took the stimulus of our meeting and has carried it on through many other operations that we're doing. She's like, how can we do this? We have this tool, but it doesn't quite do what we want. And she's looking for ways for simpler, faster, better.
Yeah. So Paul, you made a great reference to an acronym that I borrowed from somebody called a HiPot, HIPOT. It's nothing to do with pop that you might use in other environments. I found out the hard way on that one last week on a different live. So anyway, HiPot is a high potential team member, or they could be a high potential team leader, or somewhere in between. And what was really interesting to me is you were a business owner who had amalgamated because you said yes and wanted to be prepared to learn all of the thinking and operational differences between a HiPot and a business owner. And I think that's why it was so successful, because both of you said the very thing that this topic is about. You said, hey, yes, whatever we need to do, and let's be prepared to learn. And I was lucky enough to be able to kind of guide you through that kind of bowl of spaghetti that we turned everything into for a while, right?
Yeah, it wasn't an easy process, but it made perfect sense. When we got done and we got through it, we were like, yeah, I mean that we really saw the product of the exercises and the thinking and the step by step.
Right. Okay. I want to say hi. I'm not sure who LinkedIn user is. You might be in ghost mode. I still can't figure out this thing with StreamYard and LinkedIn Live. Sometimes known connections show up as LinkedIn users. So if anyone's watching this and they know what the heck to do, then let me know, because I want to say yes and learn how to get rid of the LinkedIn user badge on here. Anyway, but thank you, whoever you are. So if you're obviously wanting to be in ghost mode, then Paul and I understand that, there are times when we need to do that as well. So anyway, thanks for your comments, whoever you are. Very much appreciated. Yeah, so thinking about the rest of this year, of course, we got a limited Thanksgiving coming up. So if you had to guide somebody about say yes and be prepared to learn going forward for the rest of this month, Paul, what would it be?
Personally, or for inspiration for others?
Oh, whatever's in your heart, Paul.
Golly.
Big heart. You have a big heart, Paul. Come on.
Yeah. I just, honestly, it's been hard lately, and because of COVID and because of the whole world upside down, it's been hard for me to really be open. I've been kind of guarded, kind of wanting to stay in the safe zone. But I've felt kind of depleted because of that. It takes effort, and it takes a real determination for mindset to be seeking opportunity and be willing to step out. So it's been hard for me, but I definitely want to keep striving for that. With things being uncertain, I would just say there's nothing will happen if you do nothing. But if you have any kind of opportunity and look into it, or at least explore it, and hopefully, try it and see what happens. The worst thing that could happen is you could learn something really valuable.
Yeah.
But the best thing that could happen would be you could meet an amazing connection, or you could find out something that you didn't know you could do, or you could come up with a great idea, or who knows what. So, and I was going to say, one of your guests a few weeks ago has become one of my favorite connections, is Jillian Mulholland.
Yes.
She posted the other day how she's been working on YouTube, how she's been trying all these different things, and I highly respect that and commend that, because there's so many things to learn, and you won't learn if you don't try. And she is a great example of the go-getter. She's going to try and there will be one golden opportunity thing that happens that's going to take her to the stratosphere. So I think that's great.
Well, talking of YouTube, I didn't tell you, we're also streaming live to YouTube, Paul. How about that? Yeah, so we've got a twofer going on here, going live on LinkedIn and going live out to YouTube. So that's another little trick I learned. I said yes to a few things myself, and then really thought, oh my goodness, what have I done here? But your feeling of somewhat isolation is pretty natural, Paul. So a lot of people are feeling that way, and it's difficult to kind of put your finger on, why and what to do. Can I give you a recommendation?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my recommendation is do plan to do either an event, even if it's virtual, or plan to have maybe some open discussions. And again, that's why I love working with high potential leaders and high potential team members. There's something about their energy that just like, I don't know, it's like I'm being plugged into the main power and supercharged. So I find that if I spend time working with HiPots or business owners that work with HiPots, it's super motivational. So I don't know if you've thought about trying that, or maybe you and Jacqueline could maybe do a separate exercise together.
Yeah, that'd be good. I between the two of us, she is the 110 mile an hour, and I'm the 25 mile an hour. And so, yes, being paired up doing business together is very good for me. But I'm always worrying that I'm going to slow her down. But I think that we're coming to a workable relationship with
Right.
that. But yes, being around that type of person is definitely energizing and good for me to be stepping out more.
Sure.
I also recently got invited to be in a pod of connections with Cassandra Robinson, Cassie. A friend invited me, and there's a handful of wonderful people there. Some of them I know, and some of them I don't know yet. But invited me to be a part of that, and so that's going to require more effort on my part to step out, and I need that. I really do. I've been down and kind of withdrawn for a while, but I gotta get out of the
All right. Well, I'm gonna leverage off. I had a guest recently, Raquel, and she, right before we went live, she said, "Hey, I have a new hashtag and a new idea. Can I put it up on the screen?" And she was talking about, sometimes we over plan. So she's a like just do it kind of lady. And we were talking about her journey where she'd gone from shy to super confident, and part of that was just not stressing out about too much detail and not worrying too much. If you've got a really good idea and you're passionate about it and it energizes you, then just do it. And then of course that's the Nike term. And then Gracie Ruth Melendez, we were running a LinkedIn local virtual last night, and today we've been messaging back and forth, and she reminded me, Bruce, you just gotta do it. Oh, Coach David Verdue, hello, man. We were just talking about your bestie, Raquel. So welcome on board. Coach says keep after it. So Paul, I don't know if you know Coach David Verdue. If you don't, I had a wonderful Zoom with him this week, and that was so much fun. So
great.
I just said yes and be prepared to learn, and we had a great time. Oh, and Veronica's on from our LinkedIn local virtual last night. Hi, Veronica. Thanks for all the help last night. Wow, we've got everybody showing up today. Awesome.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's the thing I love about LinkedIn is the connections that I've made, and just through messaging or commenting or whatever, I've even had some Zoom calls and stuff like that. Everybody here is just so encouraging and so positive. It's a great group to be around. I just love it.
Yeah, and actually talking about saying yes and being prepared to learn, which is our kind of theme here, I would really encourage people that if they've not gotten the confidence to go what I call linked off, then I know you and I are big believers in that. So yeah, if you feel that you've got some good common ground with somebody through either commenting or posting or conversations through other people's posts, just reach out to them. reach out and say, hey, would you mind doing either a call or a virtual coffee or, whatever you both feel comfortable doing. Because that's where the magic of LinkedIn happens, is actually linked off, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we're great examples, right? We were just like mobile virtual connections a year ago, and how many times have we met in person and done a lot of different things, right?
That's been great, and I'm so glad that you made that effort and reached out like that. It is, and I think when you meet and see others, in kind of their values and have what they comment about and their style, it can be really comfortable just to say, hey, look, can I call you sometime, or let's have a meeting or whatever. And if you have to push it too much, that might not be the right timing. But if it kind of comes naturally, then that's sort of the.
Yeah, I say to people, if it feels like you're trying to push a piece of rope uphill, then it's probably not happening real well, right? Especially if it's a wet piece of rope as well, But that's kind of a visual. So, I try and match energy with energy, and I also try and get a good pull going on, not having to push things, just pulling things along and seeing where it goes,
Yeah, right.
All right. So final thoughts. Obviously, we've got Thanksgiving coming up, and what are you going to challenge yourself to say yes to and be prepared to learn, Paul, next week? Because you've got a couple of extra days probably for some Paul time, right?
Yeah. I for several weeks, withdrawn from being active on LinkedIn, so I need to get some content back out there.
Mm-hmm.
Step out and do some videos, share some experiences, and it's hard sometimes because you always think, well, the stuff that I'm going to say is not interesting, or it's not important, or no one's going to think it is valuable, but that is completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you just need to do it for doing its sake, and then see what happens, because people will pick up on even something trivial and
Sure.
or say, that really meant a lot to me. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So I've got to push through the self-doubt and push through the feeling like it's not going to do anything, and being more active and being more engaging and trying to do that, because I feel like I've lost some ground. I need to get back out there and do that, and who knows what, maybe it might stir up another opportunity.
Sure. All right. So if you're seeing this live or as a replay, as we're going to wrap up here, if you feel common ground to Paul, or just want to chit chat with him, or feel like, giving him a giddy up in some way, then Paul is very open to connecting with new people. And I think the other thing, Paul, is you never know. Like I was talking with Coach David last night, and we were talking about various things, and as we evolved in the conversation, it turned out that we were actually more alike than we were disalike. And so if you look at my profile and his profile, you would think, oh my goodness, these two guys can't be have anything in common. And yet, as we talked and as we had a few laughs and talked about our common love of England, which he does. And what was interesting is a meaningful connection in the making came about there, somebody he knew. So you never know. All right, Veronica's saying hi. So Veronica.
Hey, Veronica.
If maybe you can reach out to Paul and see if you can get some new conversations going with him, and that might help him get going again.
Yeah, that's all. I'm so thankful for connections that do reach out. That's always good and nice, and the ones that are genuine, obviously, and
sure.
No one likes the cold face that sounds like it came out of a can. But I love genuine questions, conversations. I've had so much fun. Sometimes random, messaging comes through and someone asks me some off the wall question. It's a lot of fun. What was it? I'm trying to remember. Somebody in a post referred to something that like was something really funny from my childhood, and I responded back and I said, "Hey, well, what about this?" And we just laughed and laughed, talking about, just it was like maybe something we used to see on cartoons or something.
Mhm.
It was like a favorite superhero, or I don't remember what it was. But
Right.
that's the fun stuff.
Yeah, you never know. Make it fun and make it kind of a little frivolous sometimes, and you just don't know, right? We get too stuck in our business head instead of just being in our business heart, right?
Well, when it all comes down to it, if you do business with someone, if it's really good business, it's not just business. It's
No.
relational. It's personal. It can be fun. It can be meaningful, and all that good stuff.
Yep. Well, that's where the old saying, know me, like me, trust me comes from, right? And if you don't have to have that with everybody, but if you could have all three things with everybody, then that's part of my definition of a meaningful connection, right? People say to me, well, Bruce, what's a meaningful connection? It's those three things, and also reaching out and saying, hey, could you help me with this answer? Or what are your thoughts about this? Or, hey, I'm thinking about collaborating about this. What do you think? So those are the ones that are so precious.
Yeah, that's great. And the other thing too is some way that you can stimulate opportunity is offering opportunity to somebody else.
Absolutely.
I think about, like my friend Lorena. I mean, she didn't have to step out and, offer her generosity to me. I mean, hardly benefit in that for her. But I think, and especially if you feel like you're kind of in a rut, if you reach out, maybe pick up the phone and, send a message or do something of value for somebody else. And who knows what may come back to you. I think that's
I couldn't agree with you more. So we'll make sure on the when this goes up on my profile as the recording, we better make sure we tag Lorena in that and have her listen in and catch the back of it. Yeah. Anyway, I know it's later there in Tulsa, so thank you again, Rever, for the opportunity to be a great brand ambassador. Thank you. Great to see you. I was hoping to have seen you in person in Tulsa this past month, but my travel got canceled because of the old COVID deal. So
you need to go back to Mad Eats.
Yeah, absolutely. See, that's a memory, Paul. That's that memorable, meaningful connection. We had some great conversations on that big table at Mad Eats for sure. Yeah,
that was right about the time you were doing one of your first live events before COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a lot of people to thank for pulling me through and setting me up to do that. So, all right. Well, thanks, Paul. If you could hang on for a minute, I'll let you know how you're going to get materials. And thank you, everybody. I'm not real good at multitasking through all the comments. So thanks for your involvement and your engagement. We appreciate everything that you do to support us and others. And have a fabulous Friday or a super Saturday if you're watching this from the Pacific Rim. All right. Hang on, Paul.
Okay.
All right. Say bye.
Bye.